Throughout Quest for Glory 2, there are 4 elementals who will arrive and begin to attack the city. The game keeps track of when these elementals arrive and the danger they present, and if you simply ignore the elementals and go to bed, don't chide me, game, I was sleepy. What you're supposed to do, once you've laughed at the misfortunes of Ali Chica, is to go and see the various merchants and see if they might be of any help. For example, to defeat the fire elemental, you must speak with Harik and get his incense, and then buy an oil lamp from one of the merchants in the plaza. Then you lure the fire elemental away from the open air and into the more confined spaces of the streets with the incense, and then do some adventure game puzzling. And I suppose if you really want to do the 100% category, you poor fool, you do need to learn this. Yeah, screw that. Hey look! We defeated the fire elemental. The beggar's back. Okay, how does it work? The Sierra Creative Interpreter. Elementals spawn on certain days, and the game keeps track of this in this variable. At the start of the game, elemental state is set to 0. The game will then increment this value whenever elementals show up on 4 different days. The state will also increment every time you defeat an elemental. In short, an elemental will arrive, which sets the state to an odd number, and then you defeat that elemental, which sets it back to an even number. And this is all very dry, so here's Katrina in her BDSM outfit. But if you don't defeat an elemental, the state remains an odd number, and when the game checks for that, you get sent to the Room of Shame. So how does the map fit into this? The map can be used to fast travel. Every time you click on a new location, you warp to that room, even if the previous room was just the other side of the plaza. Using the map also passes the time by a significant margin. The game tries to account for the distance traveled and adds that to the in-game timer. This means that the map can trigger the midnight scripts that check elemental state on day 7, 11, 14, and 16. The first trigger happens when you fast travel across midnight, turning day 6 into day 7. The script sees that elemental state is 1, at which point it uses the new room function to send you to the game over room 340. And then the map cheerfully says you arrive in room 100. It is now 1 in the morning and there is soft music playing. Yeah, the map also calls the new room function. It triggers after the previous one and the game just forgets about the whole 340 thing. Now you can just go to sleep for several days until the next check occurs, and all you have to do to skip that is to use the map again. But there is one more interesting snag here. Since we never banished the fire elemental, the elemental state remains at 1. And what happens when the game triggers another elemental to appear on day 8? Yep, it still increments the elemental state counter to 2, an even number. The fire elemental disappears in a puff of SCI logic, and the air elemental goes off to terrorize the populace. It's not until day 12 that the earth elemental is scheduled to appear, and once it does, elemental state is again incremented to an odd number, 3. That means we can die again if we're not careful, and the next death trigger happens on day 14, so we use the map to skip that one too. But then, due to complicated reasons of code, the arrival of the water elemental does not increment the elemental state properly. It remains at 3 instead of becoming an even number. As a result, you do need to skip past the death trigger on day 16 as well. In the end, 3 map skips are used, leaving all 4 elementals to wreak untold havoc upon the populace of Shapir, while our hero power naps until he can hitch a ride on a dinosaur. And finally, here is a speedrun of the map skip from beginning to end. Thanks for watching, have a great night.